back to our channel, or welcome to our channel if you guys are new here. For today's video, I am going to be talking about the entire process that we have gone through and are still going through to get our 4-year-old daughter's autism diagnosis, as well as just all things autism that we have went through with Skylar May. The things that we're kind of dealing with now, things that we have dealt with in the past, and really just all things involved with all of it. This video is probably going to be a long one, so grab yourself a cup of coffee or a tea or your favorite drink or a snack and sit down, because we have a lot of ground to cover. Before I begin, I would like to preface this video with saying the process for everybody is generally the same, but also completely different to each individual. When we started going through this process, there wasn't a whole lot online. So one of my main objectives and goals for making these types of videos is to just get more information out there and break the stigmatism with not talking about it. It's not talked about enough. So having said that, let's start from the beginning. I want to say around like a year of age, a year and a half of age, right around the time where your child is supposed to be using like 1-word to 2-word combos, learning like colors and shapes and numbers and all that fun stuff, is where we kind of started to notice like we were doing our best. Obviously, Skylar May is our first and only child. It's kind of hard when you don't know and don't have much to go off of. It is around that time that we started to notice that she was a little bit different. She kind of just went to the beat of her own drum, and that's how she liked it, so that's how we continued on. And every kid is different, so we just kind of told ourselves like she'll talk when she wants to. And then her second birthday passed. She still wasn't doing 2-word combos nor 3-word combos. It was very random words here and there, and not always like words that were appropriate to the situation and that made sense. It was just like a random word that came out of nowhere, that she had heard from something or one of us, or that we had said to her, like echolalia. And that's what kind of gave me the epiphany, like, okay, something else might be going on here and we should probably get to the bottom of it, so that we can better her life and ours, and like prepare her to learn the best way that she can. So in June of 2022 is when we finally decided to seek help. So the first step that we did was reach out to our local children's development center. So we emailed them and said, hey, here's a little information about our daughter. This is what we suspect, but we're not sure. What do we do from here? Where do we go from here? We had no idea, literally no idea. And they got back to us quite quickly and said like, yes, we hear you. This is so important. How about you come in for a meet and greet with us? We literally just went into a room and just talked to her. She asked us a whole bunch of questions just to get a generalized idea of what Skylar May does and how she interacts with people, kids, what she does at home, our concerns at that time, what we're worried about, and why we suspect that she may be autistic. And then at the end of it, she kind of said, you know, like, I agree with you guys. You did right by seeking out our help, because I do agree, even just with you being here for the last little bit and us talking and interacting with your daughter, I do agree with you that she could be on the spectrum to some degree and has something going on. So you made the right choice and you're taking the right first step. So that was a relief, not, you know, because you really never know until you get that confirmation. So at that point, she asked if Skylar May had Aboriginal heritage. She does. It's on Chris's side. He's Métis and Cree. I'm going to refer you to the UWONA Center to start speech therapy and occupational therapy right away. The wait list is not that long. It's much shorter than other programs, so this is probably your best bet. And because it's with the Aboriginal heritage kind of like program, it's free. There's no charge. That was also a huge bonus. You might know that stuff's not cheap. So it was about 2 months, I want to say, until we finally heard back from the UWONA Center to start setting up That's her giggling. She's just watching cartoons, so you might hear her, and she might come in here periodically throughout this video as well. Just a little disclaimer. Once the Uona Center got in touch with us, we started setting up bi-weekly visitations with Skylar May, which we are present in for speech and occupational therapy at the same time. We also go to the Children's Development Center sometime and not the Uona Center to meet with them, to do like the sensory gym and the sensory room. And Skylar May just has so much fun. We've been doing these bi-weekly visits now since about, I want to say, September of 2022 up until now. She has come such a long, far way. They have been such a wonderful help. Her speech therapist's name is Dana, her occupational therapist's name is Cara, and she absolutely adores them. She loves going to school. That's what we call it, is school. She has so much fun. She's learned so much, and they have helped us so much. So once we started doing our bi-weekly visitations with them, they were happy to give us more information for, are you gonna go into the living room? Okay. They were happy to give us more information for kind of like, we were like, all right, we got this far, like what's next? So they loosely explained to us that what we need for an official autism diagnosis are 3 to 4 things. She needs agreeance and support from 3 people. One being speech and occupational therapy. Check, we have that. The other being a pediatrician, and the third being a psychiatrist. Right around the time that I got pregnant, my family doctor up and left his practice. So I was left with no family doctor and no doctor for Skylar. So I went through this clinic in the valley that had a few doctors circulating throughout it. And those are the doctors that I saw while I was pregnant. And one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Wilson, was the one that ended up delivering Skylar, that we were super happy about, because we didn't know which doctor it would be that was on call that night. And it just happened to be her. She's the one that we saw most often, and she was our favorite. So that worked out beautifully. So I was like, why don't I might as well call them. And at this point, COVID had hit. Like, I gave birth to Skylar May in 2019 in November, right before COVID hit that following March of 2020. So the world was very much broken, and everything was just very, very chaotic. So I remember calling them and saying like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm hoping to get an appointment booked with my daughter and Dr. Wilson. Unfortunately, she's not taking any new patients at this time. I explained to them that she delivered Skylar May and she had saw her for like her newborn visits and such. And they basically said, sorry, that doesn't really count. You're not an active patient at this time, because it had been a couple years. She's like 2.5 now at this point, almost 3. So we can't help you. And I remember asking if they had any other options or resources for us to find a family doctor or get in touch with a doctor to see her, and they said, I have no idea, so sorry, bye. I remember getting off of that phone call and feeling absolutely distraught, destroyed, heartbroken, frustrated, like angry, mad, just like a whole roller coaster of feelings, because I was like, we were doing so well, and now we've just been like pied in the face, and now we're just in front of this wall, and I don't know if we're gonna be able to get over it. So the fact that she didn't have a doctor and we didn't have a family doctor made the entire process a lot longer than what it should have been, which sucks. But what matters is that we were here now, where we are now, and we're very thankful to be where we are now. But if you are suspecting that your child may have autism or need a diagnosis to be set in stone, my recommendation for you for a first step, unlike ours, would be to seek out your family doctor or your doctor. After that, I kind of talked to her speech and occupational therapist about our struggles, and I was like, where do we go from here? Our best route was to try and get her into a walk-in clinic to see a doctor, solely just so we could get a referral to a psychiatrist who ultimately will be doing her full autism assessment. A lot of the psychiatrists that do the autism assessment aren't covered through insurance. So like I said, it is not cheap whatsoever. Like whatsoever. And none of it is covered. Some are covered, but the ones that are covered have such long wait lists. So we got a referral to 2 to 3 places. One being about a 45-minute drive from where we live, the other being an hour drive, a 2-hour ferry ride, and another 2-hour drive from where we live. And I don't even know what the other ones that we got referred to. And those wait lists to see those psychiatrists were about 12 to 18 months. So at this point in time, we were kind of just doing our bi-weekly appointments for speech therapy and occupational therapy and hanging out. But it was really hard to get into the walk-in at that time as well. There were so many times that we were turned away just because they were fully booked, because like I mentioned, COVID had hit, the world was broken. A lot of the walk-ins in our town shut down, so we quite literally only had one option, and that made everything even that more difficult. So we waited, and we waited. And then we finally heard back from the psychiatrist's office, which is the 1-hour drive, 2-hour ferry ride, and another 2-hour drive away. So the farthest destination, and they were not covered with through insurance. So we got told it was gonna be maximum of $3,000, and it was gonna be Zoom consultation and then an in-person consultation, so 2 previous consultations, and then they basically do a write-up report, and that's that. So September of 2023 is when we finally did the Zoom consultation. It was a 3-hour Zoom consultation with the doctor. She was absolutely lovely. She's been doing this for a really, really long time. She's actually one of the first psychiatrists to ever start doing these autism assessments. So she was just absolutely wonderful and very, very informative. So we had our Zoom consultation with her in September, and then we also booked our in-person consultation to go over to where she is, to go and see her and do our in-person assessment. We're very, very, very thankful that we had family support to help us pay for this, because this was definitely not something that we could afford. I mean, we were gonna do it anyways, and we would have figured it out, but I am just so thankful that Skylar May is so loved by all of her family, and we had multiple family members chip in towards this visit, so thank you for that. I know you guys are watching this. I don't want to make it super specific because it's really nobody's business, but you know who you are, and we absolutely love you. Thank you for that. We really, really, really appreciate it. So now we have speech and occupational therapy, check. Psychiatrist assessment, check. I received a phone call one day from a clinic in the valley, and they were like, hey, we've received your referral. We're ready to take you on. We have a doctor, a pediatrician that's willing to see you and your daughter for their assessment. This is all the paperwork that we'll email to you that you need to print off and fill out and bring in, and then we can get you set up with an appointment. This whole entire process has a lot of paperwork that needs to be filled out and a lot of waiting. So I printed off that paperwork at work, filled it all out the next day, brought it in the next time I was in town, and then we booked the appointment with her pediatrician. We finally just had that appointment with the pediatrician like just 3 weeks ago, only 3 weeks ago. So that's kind of how long. This whole entire process started in June of 2022, and it is currently January of 2024. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, you are in it for the long haul. It is a lot of a waiting game. If you have proper resources, then maybe it won't take that long. But if you don't, like we didn't, just know that there is going to be, I'm like trying not to get emotional because remembering how hard it was really hard. Having a child, having so much love for that child, you love them more than anything in this entire world. Trying to help them be the best of the best and the best version of them that they can be, and being constantly turned away, and some people on the other end of the phone just really not being compassionate and being actually quite ignorant, didn't help. Because you have such high hopes and high expectations for humanity, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna make this phone call and it's gonna work out and everything's gonna be fine. And then they're like, nope, sorry, like, figure it out. You feel like you've taken one step forward and 10 steps back, and it is just, it can feel so defeating. There was so many tears that were shed, so many frustrated moments that we had as parents, the most important thing for your child, especially when you have a special needs child, is to be their number one advocate. And being an advocate for your special needs child, I mean, if you know, you know, and if you don't know, it is nothing less than a struggle, because some people simply just don't get it. They just don't get it, and they don't have any sympathy or any compassion. It is a very much, this is what you got dealt, this is the hand you got dealt, now figure it out and deal with it yourself. And if you're like us, who had absolutely no idea what to do, because we have no experience with doing anything like this, it is hard. The whole entire process is hard, and quite frankly, it sucked. Some kids self-harm, some kids harm others, some kids, you know, act out constantly, some, you know, like it's different for each kid. So having a lot of waiting and not knowing, not having answers, not knowing, being essentially feeling like you're alone in this bubble, is so depleting and mentally exhausting. I mean, it's all worth it, because at the end of the day, you're going to do what's best for your kid. And at the end of the entire process, you have the diagnosis and your kid is thriving. But that's not to say that it doesn't come without lots of difficulty and lots of emotions. If you're in the same boat as we are, just know that you are absolutely not alone. All my socials are linked in the description down below if you need to reach out to me, if you want to talk to me personally about your process or just share your story. I am open ears. As a special needs mama, I'm on your side. I get it. So getting back to the process, now that we finally met her pediatrician, Dr. May did absolutely wonderful for this whole visit. She did so good for her physical exam, and she was so patient and so kind, and we were so proud of her. We thought that now that we had the psychiatrist assessment done by this point, we were doing speech and occupational therapy bi-weekly for quite some time at this point. We thought that this was the last box that we needed checked, and that everything would be finished and everything would be done, and then the whole process would be over, and then we could just, you know, kind of like live our lives and continue doing what we were doing. Well, boy, were we wrong. She wanted us to get her hearing checked, her eyesight checked. She wanted multiple blood panels done, a urine test done, and an x-ray done of her wrist just to check her growth hormones. I was so scared for the blood work, because I remember what she was like for her shots when she was quite young, and those are never fun. Going to the hospital to get the blood work and the x-ray done, and sitting waiting for the nurses to come in, and once they came in, they had a whole whack of tubes, like tons and tons of tubes. And I was like, how much blood do we need for this collection? And just thinking it was going to be like a little, you know, 1 vial, 3 ml type of situation, a quick pinch, and then we're out of there. They needed just under 20 mils of my daughter's blood. So like, I went through with it, and so did Skylar, and you know what? I am very, very proud and very happy to say that she floored my expectations. I always prepare for the worst and hope for the best, and she did beyond what I thought the best was going to be. She sat there, she put her arm on the chair, she was kind of like, she got frustrated for literally a split second and just let out a little like grunt when the nurse had to hold her arm straight for when they collected the blood. She didn't care for the poke at all. She watched them take her blood. They collected everything that they needed in a timely fashion, and then she had a Band-Aid on, and she was more irritated with the Band-Aid afterwards and just picking it off of her skin than anything else. And then right after that, we had to go to a different area of the hospital and get her x-ray done. Well, we had to wait for about 20 minutes, half an hour. She was happy as a clam while we were waiting. And then we went into the room to take her x-ray. She just put her hand down on the table, still as a board, They shot the x-ray, boom, we're done. We left. Absolutely floored. Like, so proud of her. I thought she was going to be so fidgety, so frustrated. I thought it was going to hurt her. I thought she was going to cry, and then I was going to cry. But with these situations, you know, knowing our daughter as well as we know her, we knew what to prepare for. So I had my phone with her sensory videos on it and her favorite movies already pre-downloaded. I had her favorite Barbie and Dolly in there, her favorite snacks for afterwards, just everything you could think of I had, and I was prepared. I did have my phone with her sensory videos playing while we did her blood work, but nothing while we did the x-ray because it was so quick and she did so well. And then we collected a couple urine samples after that, which were probably honestly the most difficult of all the things that we had to do and all the test work that we had to do, because she is still not potty trained. That is one of the big things that we are struggling with right now. I'd say one of the biggest things that we're struggling with at this time is just the whole potty training. We've been working on it for a while. We're working with her speech and occupational therapist. We're working with the pediatrician. We're working with the doctor. And we're doing our best and we're trying. We know it'll come in due time, but she is still in pull-ups at age 4, and it just is what it is. We did go through a period of time where she was actively going on the potty, and we were so proud, and we were like, yes, we're finally getting ahead of this, and she's getting it. And then I really can't even think of an instant or anything that happened, but it just completely stopped. If this is something that you're struggling with your child or toddler, I'll kind of let you know like our process and what we're doing with it specifically, just in case you need some tips or tricks. So one of the things that we have is like an English kind of core board. We have these literally all over the house. This is the one that's in her bedroom that we got. This is her bedtime and nighttime routine that we follow. She has these, like I said, all over the house. There's one on the front door for going outside. There's food columns on the fridge, as well as this bigger one just with some really basic like English core words. So this one is her nighttime routine, but we have one in the bathroom on the wall right next to her potty that is kind of like a potty routine. So that has been super helpful to refer to and get her into a routine every time. We've also done potty songs, showed her potty videos. She has potty books, and then we do potty play because she absolutely loves Barbies and dollies. We put we put Elsa and Anna and all her Barbies and dollies on the potty, and they go too. She has a little Bluey house that she's currently playing with right now, and they have a little potty. So doing lots of familiarity and comfortability and building that up with the potty helps a lot. So I think the next step when we're ready that we're going to take is trying more diaperless days, but to add underwear on top of it, because I feel like that is generally the next step of potty training in general, and I feel like we're there. I think we're ready to try. We just need to make sure that we can put in the proper time and effort to make it be successful, because there is no point in starting a process like that if we don't have the time and effort to make it successful, because then we're just going to set her up for failure, and that's not going to work out nor be fun. Her pediatrician sent out a referral to the ophthalmologist to check her eyes, and we have to get her hearing checked still. That's the only kind of two things. And then the last step that we also have to take is filling out more paperwork so that we can start getting benefits and some things covered for her special needs. So that, like all of that, like logistic stuff is still in the works, but she has a speech and occupational therapist, she has a pediatrician, she has a psychiatrist, and as of yesterday, she has a family doctor finally. When we went to go visit the pediatrician, we said, are you her family doctor? How does this work? Because she does not have one. She said, I am not her family doctor, I'm her pediatrician. So I am here for like a consult basis if you need me, but anything else, like if she's sick or something, we do have a couple doctors in the clinic that are taking on new patients that are seeing myself. So I'm happy to set you up with one of them, and she did, and we heard back from them fairly quickly, and we just went for our meet and greet yesterday and did all the other paperwork and stuff, and gave them all of our information, and it was just a really quick, brief little chit chat and meet and greet to make sure that we could officially start being their patients. So now we're very, 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 very happy and thankful to say that she has all of what she needs. The big thing with her is sensory, so food sensory. Her diet is really, really good. It's come a really long way, but it is quite limited. She definitely has her comfort foods that we work on, and then the potty training and sleep is another part of it. She goes to bed when we go to bed, and she wakes up when we wake up. And honestly, like, I was talking to her occupational therapist about this morning at her appointment. We're totally okay with that. Like, most kids have a strict bedtime and wake up in the morning and have their routine. Me and Chris personally don't mind the fact that she's awake till wee hours of the morning. If she is tired, she will come up to one of us and she will fall asleep. Or sometimes even she will put herself to bed, which is so freaking cute. And she does co-sleep with us. She has her own room, she has her own bed. For a period of time, she was sleeping in her bed, and she would sleep well in her bed, and she would nap in her bed during the day as well. She would just wake up in the middle of the night or really early in the morning, and then I would come in here and grab her and bring her back into bed with us. Most of the time she would fall back asleep for a couple hours, but sometimes she would just be awake, and that was that. Game over. But as of, I don't even know how long it's been now, she's been co-sleeping with us. And besides my achy back, I'm not complaining. There's gonna be a day where she doesn't want to sleep with mom and dad anymore. She wants to be a big girl. She wants to sleep in her own bed. And that day's gonna be sad for me. I love having my little cuddle buddy in bed, so I am okay with co-sleeping. I am pro co-sleeping. So that's just my personal opinion, and I know Chris doesn't mind it either. We're gonna continue to do that for as long as she would like. Like, I really don't care. Judge me if you want, but it is our choice as parents, and she absolutely loves it as well. And she sleeps way better. She sleeps completely through the night when she co-sleeps with us. Sometimes it is hard because her nervous system is so high functioning that she doesn't want to go to bed when we go to bed sometimes, and sometimes that can be super late at night, and she's just up chit-chatting and talking and babbling or laughing and giggling and stuff like that, and we're trying to sleep because we have to get up early for work the next morning. So there are some rough nights, but they're very sporadic, and it's not every night, and it's very limited, and it's very manageable. So we're also quite lucky in regards to that. It could be worse. Things that have been really, really helpful for Skylar May and her communication, because like any other child, she doesn't come up to us and say, "Mom, I'm thirsty, can I have a glass of water?" Or "Mommy, snack," or "Mom, I don't feel good," or "I want to go outside, I want to do this." She is very much an independent toddler. She will do everything herself that she can. So in the fridge on the bottom shelf, we have all of her snacks and all of her drinks. She knows how to open the fridge. She can grab what she wants out if she can reach it, and then close the fridge and have what she has. She has her own little kitchen in her room with all of her little snacks in it as well. She can open it, get it out. She has her cups, bowls, plates, everything. So she is very much an independent toddler, and a lot of what we've done with her is we've very loosely followed the Montessori or Montessori structure with her, because I feel like that has set her up for a lot of success, and I love it as well, and it's been super helpful for me too. So she absolutely loves that. We do toy rotations, book rotations. She's very artistic. There are lots of other ways that we communicate with her that's not verbal. So she knows how to communicate with us. We know how we communicate with her, and we're working on the verbal part of it. She has come such a long way. She has 3-word combos now. She knows whole sentences. Sometimes you put on a whole song, she knows the entire song word for word. She knows her ABCs. She knows how to count to 20. She knows most of the basic shapes, and she knows like a handful of colors. So we have come such a long way, and we are still learning. We are always learning on what's best for her needs and educating ourselves on how we can do better. I know this previous past holidays, Christmas and New Year's, were a little bit rough because we were sick. There was also a portion of time where we just found that Skylar May was being really destructive, and I was like, she cannot be the only special needs child that does this. Like, I know there are other kids like this, because since this whole process has started, I have followed multiple special needs parents and children and young adults on every social media platform, so I'm constantly seeing their videos too. So I know she's not the only one, so I made it my objective to educate myself and go to Google and simply just ask, why is my autistic toddler being so destructive? And I actually read this really beautifully written article that had 3 main points that have just stuck with me and that I have used and implemented like right away every time she's like developing a destructive behavior. And that this article and the way that I do what I do, which I'm going to share with you in a moment, has helped me avoid so many meltdowns with Skylar, but also so many meltdowns for myself. Because obviously when a kid starts doing something they're not supposed to be doing, like drawing on the wall, drawing on the table, spilling water all over the place, playing in whether it be like sugar or flour or whatever, and making a mess of it, or making a mess in general, touching something they're not supposed to. Usually you go over to them, you tell them you're not supposed to do it, not to touch it or take it away. Some kids get upset, some kids understand, don't touch it and be on their way. Special needs kids tend to not understand too much of what you're asking them most of the time. And if they do, they don't understand why they're getting in trouble for it. So I read this article and it said the reason why special needs kids, or specifically autistic children, are so destructive can be for 3 main reasons. 1, they're trying to communicate with you. That is always number 1, something they are always trying to communicate with you, especially if they're nonverbal. So chances are, if she's gone to the point where she's being destructive or breaking something or wrecking something or whatever the case may be that she's doing that she's not supposed to be doing to grab our attention, she has cued us multiple different times that she's trying to communicate with us, but we have not picked up on those, whether it's because we're doing chores, making dinner, just not paying attention enough, and we miss those cues. She's going to get to a point where she's frustrated and then lashes out and does something that she knows is going to grab our attention, like knock something off the counter, spill water, draw on the wall, whatever the case may be. So number 1 is always they're trying to communicate with you. Number 2 is that they're sensory seeking. So lots of special needs and especially autistic toddlers are huge on sensory, like big. And so is Skylar. She loves her sensory play. If she wants to have sensory play, but it's not something she can easily access and needs to ask us, she's not just going to come up with this and ask, Mom, can I play with my kinetic sand? Or Mom, I want a bath. Or Mom, I want a water play, or whatever the case may be. So it is our job to recognize what she's seeking out and replace that with something appropriate that she can have. So for instance, the other day I spent the whole day deep cleaning. I was literally just about done. I folded a whole bunch of laundry in the bedroom, and then I was coming to put her clothes in her closet. And at some point during that time, she took the cornstarch, the whole jar of cornstarch, which I didn't think she could open. She opened it and she had it all over the couch. And I mean all over the couch. And it's cornstarch. It's very powdery. It's going to be hard to get out. She was covered in cornstarch. The carpet was covered in cornstarch. Even the dog was covered in cornstarch. I felt myself get frustrated, and I was like, no, like, you cannot do this. This was not okay. And I cleaned it up. And while I was cleaning it up, I was taking it away from her essentially. And she got very upset and had a meltdown. So I cleaned up the mess. I cleaned her up. I cleaned up the dog, whatever, got rid of the cornstarch, and then gave her her kinetic sand to replace it with something appropriate, because I remembered that article and I was like, okay, clearly you're sensory seeking. You saw this and said, this will be fun and cool to mush around my hands. I'm going to play with this. So she figured out how to open it, and she was having a great old time until Mom came out, got frustrated at me for having a good time and playing, took away what I was playing with. So that is how, like, she would perceive that as, which is obviously going to make her frustrated and upset, hence the meltdown. So I had to take a step, realize what was happening and what I just made her feel, recognized that that was not the right way to go about it. And then at that point I was like, okay, are you sensory seeking? What is something that I can give to her that is going to be similar to this sensation that she's feeling that's going to make her happy and content? And all I could think of was her kinetic sand. So kinetic sand is something that we allow her to have, but she has to have it while she's being like monitored, or only for a short period of time, because we learned that if we let her have it for too long, she's just going to start making a mess of it and she's going to start to eat it. Another thing that autistic toddlers do, and that Skylar May does a lot of, is everything's in the mouth. Especially ever since, like, she used to have her soother. Ever since she's been sootherless, everything is just in the mouth and everything is being chewed. Like, you look on multiple of her toys in her room and everything is chewed and gnawed. These are her Bluey characters that she got for her birthday a couple months ago. And the first thing that she does is chew their little nose off, and their hands, sometimes their feet. This is actually not that bad. Like, she used to chew these a lot worse, to the point where they didn't have legs, they didn't have arms, they didn't have any noses, like, whatsoever. And now she just chews like the little tip off, and lots of other things. There were things that we gave her and then had to take away from her for a period of time because it was just right in the mouth and she wasn't even playing with them. So lots of things are in the mouth, lots of things are being explored with her mouth, and we love that, but we have to definitely watch her. We had to take away her books for a portion of time, and a lot of her books are gnawed on the corners. Pages are ripped out because she loves to eat paper, she loves to eat cardboard, she loves to chew wood and plastic. So that is also a struggle at times, but there's this beautiful thing that was invented called jewelry. It is quite literally jewelry that they wear that they can also chew on. These come in the form of necklaces, bracelets, probably rings, but I haven't seen them, or just something that you can hold in your hand and chew on. So this is just a little necklace. It's a little Lego piece, and it has a few chew marks on it, and then the other side is just little grippies. She's not a fan of wearing them, but she will if I give them to her. If she's chewing on something she's not supposed to a lot, she will gnaw on it and chew on it. And then this one is another necklace, and it's just a little feather. You can see like some spots are chewed off. She's not a huge fan of this one, so it's survived this long because she really doesn't use it super often. Definitely the Lego. I would love to get her more. I want to get her the handheld ones that she can just hold and chew. So yeah, chewing everything is something else that we deal with a lot, but it's something that we've given her outlets for, so it works. Some kids come over that are just neurotypical, not neurodivergent, and see her toys and they're like, oh my god, like, why does Bluey have no nose? And I'm like, well, I always just blame it on the dog, but no, it's my child. Another thing that she does is she elopes. She elopes so much, and basically what that means is if they're in any open space, or have access to getting into an open space, i.e. outside, a field, a big room, a building with open doors, whatever it may be, they're gone. They're gonna run, and they run so freaking fast, man. Let me tell you, she is speedy quick. Somebody has to have eyes on her all the time, because if she's gone, she's gone. And she will go, she's just so quick, so fast, like out of there. So anytime we're outside, if it's an open area, not an enclosed space, we have to keep a close eye on her. Sometimes that can determine whether or not we go to certain events, outdoor birthday parties, family events, such and such. So just know, if your family or friends who are watching this and you have a certain event that we don't end up coming to, it's not because we don't want to be there, but a part of being our daughter's advocate is making sure that we set her up for success. And putting her in a stressful, overwhelming situation where we're having to constantly redirect her and chase her can be super frustrating for her, if she just wants to go and run and play and be wild and free. So sometimes we just avoid all of those situations together, or sometimes if it's just me and Chris can't make it, I won't go because it's a lot. Ooh! because it's a lot easier to have help than to be solo. So that's another thing that you do often. You know, the list just goes on. It goes on and on and on and on, but that is generally the entire process that we've been through this far with her, where we've gotten to and where we are today with everything. As difficult as it was, as emotional as it was, I wouldn't have it any other way, because I have a beautiful daughter who is happy, who is healthy, and at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So if you guys know us, or if you're seeing this and bump into us one day, just know our daughter's a little bit different. She might not say hi to you if you say hi to her. She might not give you a hug and a kiss when we leave next time we come over, or interact with your kids or yourself if you're trying to play with her. But just know that she is loved, she is happy, she is healthy, and please respect her boundaries. I know we have lots of family and friends watching, and we are very thankful to be in a position with everyone where we can explain to them how she is and how she works and what she likes and what she doesn't like. And everybody essentially does respect her boundaries, but I just want to preface that by saying, respect her. If she looks like she's uncomfortable, if you say hi to her or ask her for a hug and a kiss and she's not coming up to reciprocate that for you, respect that she doesn't want to do that right now. That might be something that's super overwhelming for her to do. She might have done it in the past, but if she doesn't this time around, just know it's because she doesn't feel comfortable doing so in that moment, and you have to respect that. And I am going to be right by her side, and if I notice that, I'm her biggest advocate, and so is Chris, and it is our job to remind people of that sometimes, which may not come out in the best way. Maybe it sounds harsh sometimes, or maybe people just won't understand or don't want to listen and want to give her a hug and a kiss anyway, or interact with her anyway, or whatever the case may be. Recognizing your own child's needs and how they perceive things and receive things is super important with special needs kids, so that you can be their advocates for situations like that, and that she understands that when she can say no, there's going to be somebody there that says, okay, you said no or you said yes, and I respect that choice, instead of saying no to something and then doing it anyway just because you want to, or you don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. It is a big deal, because she established those boundaries and you just essentially told her that those boundaries don't matter. We have come such a long way, and she is so good at communicating with us now. She's telling me to come on, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. Do you want to come and end it with me, and then I'll come see what you would like? We have a very charismatic, characteristic, silly, goofy little girl, and we would not have that any other way. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I know it was long, but it is very much needed and super important to talk about. And if you liked this video and want to see more videos like this in the future about Skylar and our special needs toddler and how we work our special needs household, being special needs parents, please let me know in the comments below. But until then, we will see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone.